You can download this, you can video it off of here as we play it. The only caveat I will say is it is possible as we're playing it here, it may slow down as our bandwidth, as you guys are filming stuff and going back. I think the techno guys understand that, but it is available for download from your news departments.
I will say that. LT said 10 days. We probably aren't going to leave it up that long. So if you want, please try to get it off there today. And I think first and foremost, everyone in this room wants to offer their condolences and thoughts and prayers to the family of Rachel Asbill, who currently right now, as we know, she suffered a pretty traumatic injury. In addition to her, there's 3 other children that were involved in this, and I think we all know that they will forever be emotionally impacted from this event. There's a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old that were all in the house. Thankfully, with their family and friends and the love of this community, they'll get through this, but this is definitely going to be a difficult situation for them. This isn't something that they obviously did themselves, and it's unfortunate the actions of Sean Gillerot caused this family to be put through such a traumatic situation. Having said that, I'm going to let Lieutenant Neal come up here. You can see the timeline of the situation. So this situation started at a little after midnight, almost 1 o'clock, at 0043, which is 12:43 a.m. Our staff received a 911 employees of the McDonald's on Route 3. A new 17-year-old female showed up at their location at that time. Employees that were coming off shift were outside, put her in her vehicle, and immediately transported her to the Medina Hospital. They called 911 while they were on their way, which when they made that phone call was roughly, they were on by the square, Smith Road by the gas station is when they made that phone call. At 1:04 a.m., our officer arrived at the scene in Stockbridge. The initial call, it sounded like the female was still at McDonald's. Then once we received that information that she was in fact taken to Medina Hospital, Lieutenant Neal, along with another officer, responded to the location on Stockbridge. Yes, I apologize. At 1:01, so 3 minutes before our officers arrived on scene, Sean Gillerot called 911 himself. And actually, it'd probably be appropriate to play that 911
Yes, sir.
Audio right now.
Again, this audio is available. I'm getting all this right from that website that I told you about earlier. So original 911 call from, let's do,
Might be up top.
yeah, I'm just seeing which one here. We've got a couple from Sean.
Sunday, May 19, 2019, 01 hours and 10 seconds.
What's the address of your emergency?
I'll redo
Please
that.
help me, it's,
May 19, 2019, 01 hours and 10 seconds.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
please help me, it's,
And it does cut out. That's
4777
how it was recorded.
Drive, Medina, in Ohio, in the head.
What? You what?
I shot her in the head. Shot her,
You shot who in the head?
my girlfriend.
Your girlfriend? How old is your girlfriend?
4. I want to call her. She needs help.
Do you still have the weapon?
I don't even know where it is. I don't even know where it is. I've been looking for it. I have no idea where it is.
You don't know where the gun went?
No, it fucking fell or something. I have no idea. There's broken glass. I have no idea.
Hold on 1 second for me. Attention LST Station 5, 4777 Stockbridge Drive, 4777 Stockbridge Drive, for a 44-year-old female. Okay, sir, do you have something
Yes.
that's bleeding?
Yes, I have a rag on the bleeding right now, but she's moaning and she's not doing well.
Hang hang on 1 second.
Yeah. She's not doing well. Oh my God.
Okay,
Oh my God.
what's her name?
Rachel Asbell. Azbell.
What happened was it an accident or?
It was a disagreement and it got out of control and
Disagreement that got out of control?
yes. She's in rough shape, please.
Do you have the door unlocked for them?
I'll open it right now. Here. There. It's in the garage. We're in the garage.
You're in the garage right now?
Yes. I just opened it.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Apply the pressure to her head on that rag, okay?
Okay.
Just stay on the line with me.
I don't know about this. She's still fighting. She's still fighting. I'm gonna go to jail though. I did this. I can't be here. Oh my God. Oh my God, she just died. She just died. Oh my God.
Okay. Are you able to do CPR?
She's still fighting. She's still fighting. Wait, come on. Hey, fight! Fight! You got it. Come on. Fight.
Okay.
Fight.
Okay, sir?
Yes.
Alright, I've got officers right down the road. I need you to exit the house and go down towards the street with your hands up.
But I'm holding the pressure.
They're right down the road. They need you to exit the
Oh,
garage with your hands up.
They're still pretty far away. I gotta hold the pressure.
Okay. I need you to exit the house. They're telling me to have you exit the house with your hands up and go
What?
towards the street.
I understand that, but they're pretty far away, and I gotta hold this pressure to her head. 'Cause that's the thing that's gonna keep her alive.
Okay. Sir, I've got numerous officers on the way. He wants you in the street before he gets there.
That's fine. I don't care what the fuck that officer wants. Oh my God. You can't
Okay.
believe they do this.
Okay, I understand. He
can't
can see
do
the garage door, but I need you to go out in the street before he'll approach the house.
No, that's not gonna happen. He needs to come into the garage. I will leave the garage. And I see the lights coming up right now. I will leave the garage as soon as he gets up here.
What's your name, sir?
Sean Gillero. She's alive. She's alive. Help her. She's alive. I have children in the house. Come help her. Just come help her. Or shoot me. I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
They don't want to do that.
Nah. Shoot me. Please. Please shoot me. I'm holding her fucking thing. And I'm talking to your fucking ER. Put your hands up right now. I'm trying to help her. Put your goddamn hands up. Shoot me. Get out, bro. Shoot me. Get out, bro. Shoot me. Shoot me. I'm not playing that.
We'll put the map up. So, again, that concludes the 911 call from Sean. He initiated that call at 1:01. Our officers arrived on scene at 1:04. The next video you'll see is our officer's dash camera that will come up.
You want the dash camera or the map?
What's that?
You want the map or the dash camera?
Well, actually, we'll put the map up because there was questions about how far the 17-year-old victim had to traverse So you can see where the location of the house is, 4777 Stockbridge, and there's McDonald's. It's roughly a half mile away. She obviously ran there at some point after 12:30, completely, again, in a state of nudity, trying to escape Sean. And then we'll put the dash cam up, and then I'll get back into the timeline. And again, as a reminder, all of these visuals will be on that Dropbox link.
Including the McDonald's security video with obviously Mosaic over her, but when she encounters the employees in the parking lot. This is just a brief glimpse of the dash camera of the only car that was close to the scene as he arrived.
It's the garage with the light on.
So you're going to see myself and other officer coming up. You'll see the flashlight from their shotgun rifle come up in a second, and Sergeant comes up with his rifle.
Sergeant had just left an accident on Route
I think it's important to know, we're showing you some glimpse. I think it's important to interject at this time and let you know that the information that we're getting from our dispatch center, we played for you the 911 call. They've already received a 911 call prior to Sean calling from the McDonald's employees. That's in the Dropbox as well. They're relaying information to us. They've also received a call from a employee of the hospital. That employee, just in passing, as the victim came in from the 17-year-old came in, she indicated that there were other people, her brothers and sisters, or other juveniles in the home. We didn't know, they just said other juveniles. So that information is being relayed to us. She also said that the person that assaulted her shot his mother. I think that got mistranslated in translation, but I think it's important to know that as the officers arrive, they already have the knowledge that someone has already been shot, so a weapon's been discharged in the home, and there's some danger because there's allegedly other juveniles in that home, and that's the reaction that you saw.
3. And again, I think
Which one did you want,
I
I'm
made
sorry?
mention of it at the beginning. That obviously is our victim, who is still fighting right now, Rachel Asbell. And that will also be available. She is currently at Akron General. And then our suspect, who is deceased, Sean Gillerot. So back to the timeline. And again, once we get to the end, feel free to ask questions. I'm just trying to provide you the basic information here. At 1:07, SWAT team was activated. Roughly at 1:43, the SWAT team, based on the heroic actions of themselves, put a ladder up to the back window where they're able to find the kids. We're able to get the two teenagers, or a teenager and a preteen, out of the upstairs bedroom, remove them from harm's way. At 2:41, that was at 2:41, they were able to do that. At 2:52, again, members of the Medina County SWAT team put themselves in risk and were able to extract the female from the garage after there were signs of life notice. So they were able to extract her and load her and take her to Medina Hospital, where they were able to transport her to Akron General. And then at 3:44, Medina County SWAT deployed the robot, which was able to at some point confirm that Sean was in fact deceased in the basement roughly at 4:30. I know I somewhat skipped the fact that the 17-year-old escaped the house. The 12 and 15-year-old were woken up around 12:30 in the morning to screams in the household, at which point they heard a door slam, and it's our belief that that is when the 17-year-old left the house. From what we gathered through an interview, she was sleeping in her room, which was somewhat above the garage area, when the suspect entered her room and attempted to sexually assault her. That is where the 9mm weapon was found, in her room. She was able to fight him off, at some point talk him down. He left that room and went to the bathroom, at which point is when she escaped and ran all the way to McDonald's. And then obviously you saw when our officers arrived. So this was a very traumatic situation for those kids, and truthfully all of our safety forces. I think it's very important to recognize there were over 40 people from Medina County that responded to help this situation, and we could not have done it without them. This truly was a collaborative effort, and we're thankful for all the relationships that we have in this county for these types of situations. I think that somewhat covers.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just important to note that there was some time period that we believe after Sean discharged his weapon in the house and shot the victim, there was some other activity. He didn't immediately call 911. In fact, if you go by the timeline and you fill in some events there, we have reason to believe that maybe he discharged that weapon before even the 911 call from McDonald's came in. Believe that the SWAT team did a great job and appreciate their work. This is obviously very devastating to the family, and I think the community will support them as they work through this. Did you have any other videos you want to show, McDonald one or anything?
No, because that'll all be available. Having said that, Dr. Dranik, do you have anything you would like to add?
Just if anybody has any questions.
So if anyone has general questions about this, I'll be happy to answer what I can. Obviously, I'm not going to speculate on what we don't know, but I'll let you know what we do know. So,
Who'd the kids belong to?
the two that were upstairs, the 12 and 15-year-old, were Sean's biological children and are currently safe with their biological mother.
And the 17-year-old?
It was Rachel's biological daughter.
Can you say and pronounce the names of both the victim and the suspect?
That should be in that release, but
Can you just pronounce it so I know?
I say it's Asbel, Rachel Asbel, and Sean Gillerot.
Do we know, was the shooting, was it related to, did Rachel find out that the 17-year-old was assaulted?
Actually,
Was assaulted?
it appears that the shooting took place before Sean went up to attempt to assault the 17-year-old, because he indicates to the 17-year-old, "I shot your mother."
Were there drugs or alcohol involved?
The 15-year-old indicates that they had that the family went to the bowling lanes together, and that she feels that Sean was intoxicated.
Any previous domestic violence calls to this household?
During an interview, we found out that there was a domestic situation that took place in December that was never reported to our office. And then in 2014, we did investigate a sexual imposition case involving Rachel's, at that point, it was a different daughter who was 16 at the time. That case was investigated, sent to the prosecutor's office, and no charges were filed.
And Sean and Rachel lived together? This was their home together?
That's correct.
Through our investigation after the SWAT team cleared the home and made it safe for the officers and investigators to go in, we did also find that there were several other guns loaded, placed throughout the house, and Sean did have a pocket full of ammunition. Don't know when he did that, if it was before we arrived or after he went into the home, but you heard on the 911 tape and you saw on the video that he entered the home, and we retreated back for the safety of the other people in the home.
Is he ex-military?
He did. He was honorably discharged in the military in 2003. 2003.
Army.
Yes.
Can you guys talk about the emotions of going into a situation like that when you're an officer and you know we were in a situation where somebody could be in trouble, the adrenaline rush, we hear it in the voices, what's running through your mind as you're in that situation and trying to get through it?
I'll bring Sergeant LaFond up with Lieutenant Neal, because they were both some of the first officers on scene at this call.
Yeah, I mean, obviously our concern number one is for the victim that we know is already shot. Unfortunately, when we arrived in the garage, she at that time showed no signs of life. The situation was dynamic and obviously very fluid. He was not cooperating with us, and he went in the house. Coincidentally, that door leads into the kitchen where we did find a loaded 12-gauge shotgun. So these are concerns that run through our head, is how much other danger are the victims in and how many victims are here. we know, or we believe we know, that there, and it turned out there was children in the home upstairs. We don't want them in danger. We don't want the neighbors in danger. If he's contained in that house, that's what we want. If we can get him in there, we can get a perimeter set up and contain him in that house so he's not a threat to anybody outside that home, any neighbors, and he is contained there. That's really what we want, and that's a lot of what goes through our mind, Bob. Sarge?
Does that answer your question, Bob, or?
Yeah, were you first on the scene?
I was actually, Lieutenant Neal and Officer Searle arrived slightly before me. The dash cam video you saw was of me arriving. We had just come off of, as Chief said, an accident, a serious injury accident on Route 3.
Get down, yeah, who's that voice?
That was a combination of Officer Searle and me. Most of the audio that you hear there is Officer Searle. I'm giving some commands in the back as well. So, and to second what Lieutenant Neal said, the most important thing to us at that point is, again, once he returns into the house, we can't see him. We don't know. We obviously know that he already has access to weapons. He's already shot someone. So our main concern is for the kids at that point, and not escalating that situation further. If we can get out, hopefully calm that situation down, and again, extricate those kids safely. That's the most important thing at that point.
Can you speak to what seems like some very heroic actions of this 17-year-old running, you said, a half mile to get help, and just, without her, it seems like you would not have known what's going on.
Absolutely, and she was a hero for herself, but also those two other children that were in the house. So without her actions doing that, I can't speculate. It could have been a totally different outcome. I praise her for the ability to get away, and then the fortitude to, like you said, get all the way down there and share this horrific situation with the staff at McDonald's.
Did she say why she went to McDonald's and not a neighbor's house or something?
She did not.
Did anyone figure out what the argument was about that Sean, I don't know what, no.
The kids that were in the house were asleep at that time.
Yeah.
Do we know how long they were dating?
I believe 7 years.
Can you talk about the custody of the 12, 15-year-old? Did he have weekend
He had
visitation?
shared parenting with his ex-wife.
Can you talk a little bit about the calculations that you have to make as a SWAT team or police force when you arrive to a situation like that and there's this woman who's seriously hurt in the garage, but you have to figure out when is the appropriate time to go in to help her, to
Sure.
get her.
And I
what
think-
sort of goes into that decision?
I think this is a good time to bring up Chief Deputy Baca from the SWAT team. They're a critical component to this. But also, to your point, the last radio transmission from dispatch was that she was deceased. And I think the officers did the exact correct thing when they were, in fear for themselves and the other two individuals in the house.
Okay, what was the question again, please?
I just wanted to say if you could talk a little bit about the calculations of, obviously, as you just said, you thought she was deceased at that point, but how you make, what sort of goes into that decision of when you can see someone seriously hurt there on the ground, but you have to protect yourself going into a situation like that?
Well, in this particular situation, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but the focus turned towards those two children that were upstairs that had barricaded themselves inside of the residence up there. Of course, he was inside too, so to render a situation peacefully, the first thing we would do is set up a perimeter and try to negotiate with the individual to turn himself in, or to negotiate to get the children out. This particular situation, we couldn't make contact with them. That's why an immediate rescue attempt was made to go up to the backside of the house and to get the children out from the upstairs window.
I also wanted to add, and I failed to mention, that the children called their mother while this was going on, their biological mother, who arrived on scene. And one of the officers from Seville PD who came to help us very smartly was able to, when she approached him, got on that phone, was able to gather extremely critical information for us, at which point that call was transferred to the 911 center. So we were able to gather that information on where we thought the suspect was and where the kids were in order for the SWAT team to make that heroic rescue.
So when they were in the house and he went down to the basement, do you guys retreat? Is it kind of protocol then? You're not going to know where he is? And is that what happened in that moment where you see him and then you don't, right?
So as we approach them from the garage, and you can kind of hear from the audio, as we first enter the garage, he is next to her at that point. He is still on 911, talking with our dispatchers. And as you heard in his audio, his 911 call, he's refusing to leave her as he believes he's rendering her aid. by holding a rag on her head. As we approached him into the garage and Officer Searle first made that initial contact with him, he again wasn't listening to our commands. We continued to approach him, trying to get close enough to him, obviously. But as we were probably about 2.5, 3 feet away from him, he quickly ran up the steps into the house and shut the door behind. At that point, again, the initial assessment of Miss Asbell was that she had suffered a devastating gunshot wound to the head. There were no signs of life, and because of that, we immediately retreat out, again, not having any knowledge of where he is. You heard on the 911 call, he claims that he does not know where the weapons are in the home. We obviously know that there's at least a weapon involved at that point, and for an officer safety aspect, we're going to retreat. He could obviously start doing, whether it be firing rounds to the door or whatever, knowing where we are in the garage. So that was the reason for our response out of the house at that point. And you heard in the audio, it becomes a barricaded subject, which Chief talked about now. We're going to set up a perimeter and secure that scene to make sure that we can contain him there. And again, the focus at that point changes to the kids that we know and eventually make contact with the house, within the house via 911, and communicate with them that they're still safe and getting them out as quickly as possible.
Anything else?
What kind of gun was used, and were any other weapons found in the home?
There was a handgun used on the victim, and then there were 3 other shotguns located within the house.
And also, did the 17-year-old indicate any previous attempts of sexual assault?
She did not during that interview.
It's a question for the prosecutor, and maybe you can't speak to it, but can you explain why the initial case there was no charge on it?
I'll interject there.
Okay.
I can respond.
But that wasn't to the county prosecutor's office. It went to the meeting.
That's why I wasn't sure if you could talk to it.
No, that actually was referred to the Medina Municipal Court.
So it's just a question.
So that, right.
Good question.
Yeah, you said she was still in the hospital at this moment?
Correct.
Is there someone who can speak to her condition or prognosis or anything like that?
Dr. Duranic?
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Duranic. I'm the coroner of Medina County. Rachel sustained a single gunshot wound to the right temple, almost execution style. The gun was, we think, at an angle, and the bullet lodged in a lower part of her brain, just above the primitive part of the brain, which keeps your heart rate alive, your breathing, your blood pressure. So at this time, she is in the hospital on life support. Her pain is being controlled, her blood pressure is being monitored, and she will be giving life-saving organs to those who are able to be matched. So we are getting some out of this horrible tragedy. Hopefully some good could come from this.
So she's considered brain dead at this point?
Yes. This is a injury that is not compatible with life.
So what will become of her daughter, the 17-year-old?
She does have a grandmother and a biological father that's out in Kansas. She also has 2 older sisters that are adults.
Lisa, was it a single gunshot wound with Sean?
Yes.
And you believe his time of death was instant, or?
Sean took his own life down in the basement. It was a single shot from a shotgun. He aimed it right at his forehead. His death was instantaneous.
That was one of the 2 shotguns you found?
That was one of the 3.
One of the 3.
One of the 3. Any other questions? Again, we appreciate you coming out, and all this information will be on Dropbox, via the link up there. And if there's anything else, questions that come up, feel free to ask us. And I said at the beginning, but I think it's just so critical that we keep those children in our thoughts and prayers, that they have to live with this emotional scar for the rest of their lives.
Does he finish the dash cam, or?
Yes, of that, of what was on here. I mean, there's a full dash that's not on what we have right
If
here.
there's any of them saving the children at all, is there anything on that dash cam?
You know what, that's a good question. I honestly don't know if that dash cam was running during that phase.
I believe it was. It ran out, LT, is that confirmed? That
Yeah.
it ran out of memory by the time that the scene was over?
Yeah, it might be on there, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that it would show it. I can review it, and if it's on there, I'll stick it on there, honestly. But it's hours of just looking at that garage, you can't
It's
sit
there when it's your first phase, it's just.
Yeah.
The children were rescued and immediately put into the SWAT vehicle, which was located at that time just north of the house. So what the dash cam will capture potentially would only be, and again, it's dark there, maybe the SWAT vehicle, and you may see some movement in and out of that as they do that.
I'm not sure if this is already asked, was he licensed to own these guns? You know?
You know what?